To end the war, Donald Trump presented a 15-point peace plan, but Iran has rejected it. This plan was not very different from Trump's maximum pressure strategy. Overall, it was a forced negotiation under which an attempt was being made to pressure Iran with strict conditions to sign a comprehensive deal. This was an effort by the United States to permanently reshape Iran's behavior. There was nothing like a peace plan in it. It seemed more like a compromise. In a way, Iran was being asked to surrender. A list of demands was presented to Iran. For example, it would stop its uranium enrichment. It would allow strict international inspections. It would dismantle parts of its nuclear infrastructure. It would severely restrict its nuclear program. Compared to the previous Iran nuclear deal, this new plan was much stricter. Iran was asked to limit its ballistic missile development. It was asked not to develop long-range strike capabilities. Because even if Iran develops nuclear weapons in the future, it can only deliver them through missiles. Therefore, Trump's peace plan included curbing Iran's missile program. It was also demanded that Iran stop supporting proxy groups in the region. For example, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthis in Yemen, and Shia militias in Iraq and Syria. This essentially meant breaking Iran's regional influence network. Considering the energy crisis caused by disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, the plan also talked about ensuring free navigation. The details are not clear, but the US would possibly seek international monitoring, because 20% of global oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. So the US wants to ensure free navigation there and reduce military activity. In return for all these strict conditions, Iran would be given sanctions relief and access to global markets. Overall, this peace plan aimed to reduce Iran's regional power. It aimed to break its future nuclear weapons capability. It also aimed to stabilize global oil markets. It is obvious that Iran found this plan excessive and unrealistic, because it was like unconditional surrender. And in the war that has been ongoing for about 4 weeks now, the US has not appeared to be in a position to dictate the terms to end the war. This is because, due to asymmetric warfare, Iran has appeared to have the upper hand so far. In such a situation, a peace plan is being presented to Iran with strict conditions. No security guarantees have been provided to Iran. Will Iran accept this? An attempt is being made to weaken Iran internally. An attempt is being made to cut its regional influence. In a way, pressure is being created for political change by forcing it to accept surrender. Will Iran accept this? In this war, the setbacks faced by the US and Israel are significant. After the destruction of American bases in West Asia, why would Iran accept US dominance in the region? After effectively challenging the US-led order, why would it sign its own surrender document? This is a completely one-sided plan. There is no compromise from the American side. Despite the fact that the US and Israel carried out an unprovoked attack, heavy obligations are being imposed on Iran. So it was expected that Iran would outright reject this plan. By now, the US should have understood that military pressure does not always bring peace and political stability. Military victory is one thing, and political stability is entirely another. Such an attitude by the US will only prolong the conflict, not end it. And the resulting regional instability and energy crisis will also affect the US. Diplomacy is only possible if the US softens its demands. It must show some flexibility. In an environment where trust is completely absent, you are not in a position to impose your demands. After making strategic blunders, promising to stop pressure when the other side changes its behavior will not work. If Israel has the right to defend itself, then why does Iran not have the same right? When Iran has already announced that it will retaliate if attacked, then if the US is serious about stopping the war, it should first stop attacking. Without mutual trust, no peace deal will be possible. Only a prolonged conflict will be seen. It is entirely possible that the American administration may pay a heavy price for its arrogance and high-handedness. Iran says that it did not start the war, but it will end on its own terms. To end the war, Iran has put forward 5 core demands. According to these, all military strikes on Iran must stop. If peace is desired, attacks must stop first. Security guarantees must be provided to Iran that there will be no future war. Due to America's unreliability and its history of breaking agreements, Iran does not trust the US at all. Therefore, Iran wants binding guarantees that it will not be attacked in the future. And attempts of regime change operations in Iran must be stopped. In other words, the Iranian government is trying to ensure its security and survival. Then Iran is also demanding financial compensation. The infrastructure damage caused by the war and the economic losses that have occurred will have to be compensated. The war must be stopped on every front. Not only inside Iran, but the war must be stopped everywhere, including Lebanon and Gaza. This means Iran is talking about protecting its regional allies. It is trying to maintain its regional network and influence. Another condition set by Iran to end the war is that Iran's authority over the Strait of Hormuz should be formally recognized. If this happens, Iran will gain massive leverage over global energy. According to Trump's peace plan, Iran would have to make strategic concessions. At the same time, Iran is demanding strong security guarantees through its own conditions. Therefore, an agreement between both sides appears to be quite difficult. Basically, Iran is negotiating not from a position of weakness, but from a position of strength. It has set very tough conditions. Clearly, Iran is signaling that it is not desperate. If needed, it can prolong the war. It can increase the cost for the US. Because the Strait of Hormuz, which is Iran's biggest bargaining chip, is under its control. So a ceasefire appears quite difficult because this is a battle for the future balance of power in West Asia. The US wants to contain Iran, and Iran wants recognition as a regional power. This core issue is very difficult to resolve. Even if a ceasefire happens, it will only be temporary. The conflict will only pause, it will not end. This problem will not be completely solved. It can only be managed for some time. Iran is a large country with a population of around 90 million. The Gulf Arab states in the region, such as Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Qatar, have smaller populations. They are wealthy countries but are militarily dependent. This creates a power imbalance in the region. Iran is a strong country. It cannot be ignored. However, it is not strong enough to dominate the entire region. At present, the war situation has reached a stalemate. Neither side can completely win, nor fully defeat the other side. The result will be endless tension. The Gulf countries cannot counter Iran alone, so they rely on the US for their security. Iran considers the US presence in the region as a threat to itself. This creates tension and instability. Therefore, talks take place, negotiations happen, tensions reduce slightly, but after some time, attacks resume. Proxy wars start again. Because the root of the problem does not end. The root cause is power imbalance and mistrust. As long as these exist, tensions in the region will continue. So even if peace comes, it will be temporary, not permanent. The situation in West Asia is highly layered and complex. Iran and Saudi Arabia compete with each other for regional dominance. Israel sees Iran as a threat to its existence. Then there are Shia versus Sunni tensions. Iran is a Shia country, whereas most Gulf states are Sunni. There are also proxy wars in the region. So many conflicts overlap with each other. Even if you solve one issue, others remain. Therefore, a final solution is difficult. The geography of the region makes it even more complex. The Gulf is the center of the world's energy. The Strait of Hormuz is a choke point for global oil. Therefore, global powers like the US, China, Europe, and Russia get involved. Every conflict here becomes global. The more players involved, the greater the complexity and the harder it becomes to resolve. Managing the crisis is easier, but resolving it is very difficult. The effort should be to prevent wars from escalating too much. A full-scale regional collapse must be prevented. It must be ensured that no single country dominates. Equilibrium and balance of power must be maintained in the region. It must be ensured that trade routes remain open. Oil flow must continue. Despite core disagreements, agreement must be reached on limited cooperation. Diplomatic engagement must not be cut off. The chaos that is created must be controlled. Conflicting interests must be managed. The combination of history, religion, energy, and power politics in the Gulf region is a perfect recipe for permanent tension. To manage the current Gulf crisis, dialogue and diplomacy are the only sustainable methods. This is the most practical and proven method. If de-escalation is not achieved through serious talks, then the world will have a lot to lose.